Hey, what's up? I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. Raheem DeVaughn is with us. He's got some brand new tunes out. We're talking music today.
Hey,
what's up, man?
Good to see you, man.
How's everything going?
Oh, man, everything is well. I can't complain. You know, if I did, nobody would want to hear it.
You were just telling me at 5 a.m. this morning you were in the studio.
Yeah, it's kind of like my ritual, man.
You like to wake up really early and just get right after it? How does that go?
Well, I mean, it was kind of like there from the night before.
Yeah, you're just hanging out all day, all night.
My day at the studio started probably, around 3 p.m. Yeah, yesterday.
Wow.
And then I left out of there, 5 p.m. This is pretty much the cutoff time to beat traffic. Because that morning traffic, they drive crazy.
Oh, everybody's ready to go to work, and you're like, I'm just trying to go home and crash right now.
Like
I'm just trying not to fall asleep.
Yeah, you're basically trying to, So, took a little nap, and then took a nap, and here we are, man.
I like it. Yeah. I like the commitment. So, what goes down in the studio for that long? Like, what's your process when you're spending that amount of time in there?
Yesterday it was a lot of, making sure I make good on and don't leave people with empty promises. So a lot of features and stuff like that. I did 2 features for Africa yesterday. Nice. I did, some songwriting for an artist, which is, signed to a label. I recently had them signed to a label, that I'm A&Ring for. So, working as an A&R and that type of thing, and also, moonlighting as a songwriter and producer and these different things. So, yeah, yesterday was pretty eventful.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it. What's the most appealing thing for you in terms of doing everything, whether it's creating the music, producing it, singer-songwriter? Like, what fascinates you the most in the music industry?
Probably right now is doing the A&R thing, and just kind of, songwriting and morphing into being able to have a conversation with a fellow artist and then bringing their vision to life with my pen.
Yeah, that's a nice deal, right?
And creating like a hit record for them. You know what I mean? Like I'm kind of like in that mode. Like for far too long, that's something that I could have pursued as a songwriter. But I think my frustration was more so from an industry standpoint, where a lot of times other A&Rs or certain gatekeepers, they're very fickle about what the artist, what they want for the artist versus what we know the artist needs.
And what will hit also.
Yeah, what will hit, you know what I mean? It's kind of having my ear to the street. And I think, with the success of my single, Just Right, and my album, which is still streaming extremely well, the Love Reunion, which is out, by the way, right now.
There you go, yeah.
Pick it up on all digital platforms. The success of that, I had a hunch, or I had a feeling that, it would do well, and I studied the culture, so I feel like sonically I was able to create a body of work that could kind of fit in right now, but also stand out, and so that's something I strive to achieve, to do with artists that seek me out, for features, or to lend my pen to their projects or what have you.
I got you. So when did you feel like you got to a point that you A, realized that gatekeepers were kind of holding you back in a sense, and then B, that you could be more of a power player and kind of break through all the BS here? Yeah,
I realized that early in the game. I was one of those artists that kind of just always put his projects together. Although I did have A&Rs, they were more instrumental in creating relationships or putting me with people who I wasn't familiar with, or that they just said, man, if you go work with, Jack Splash, or I send you to work with Mark Batson, it's going to be a different experience for you musically on another level, I think one A&R comes to mind in particular, for my career with Jive. Of course, Jimmy Maness and DJ Wayne Williams, like those are my guys, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, not just my, I don't look at them as just mentors, but, those are my brothers, those are my, my OGs, you know what I mean? My friends, you know what I mean? But in terms of, A&Rs. I think one that comes to mind was a guy named Jeff Finster, Jeff Finster, who actually challenged me to be better. You know, indirectly.
He was straight up with you, and you're like,
yeah, it was based on a conversation at
the
time where I played it, you know, what I thought was the album, and he was like, well, where's your you? Where's you know what I mean? And he was like a fan, and he had studied the previous body of work, and not to say, hey, you got to make this all over again,
right.
But you know, you definitely have to be, you know, I learned from that conversation the importance of consistency, but also growth, you know, and stepping out of the box creatively. You know, one of the first people that he put me with was Mark Batson at the time, who, you know, I had a very 1+1 way of recording and in the process, and just kind of going in and didn't understand. They're like, yo, you spend this money for these studios, and like you can create a vibe, you know, if you want to turn it into, you know, Magic City.
You go right ahead, right?
Go right ahead. You know, you want to change you want to turn the vibe of the studio and the, you know, Christian Grey, 50 Shades of R&B. You know what I'm saying?
Make it you is really the whole point here.
So I learned how to have fun while making records with Mark Batson in particular, and you know, people would just come hang out. You know, as a result, you know, I'm probably one of the only artists that can say they have a record, you know, recorded with Barry Zito at the time, in his prime. We played guitar on a record called Butterflies, or, you know, that meetup and that workspace led up to, you know, to him taking me one day and be like, hey man, I got somebody I want you to meet, and that, you know, that was my first and the only time I met with Dr. Dre.
Oh wow! What was that like?
I should have had the cameras on me.
Oh man, come on, where are the cameras?
The things he said in that room about me and my music and whatever. I learned a valuable lesson. I know a couple of people who had cameras on them when those conversations happened. Just like, you know, not clout chasing, that term that didn't really exist in, but it wasn't even a clout chase move. It was the fact that, like, you know, Dre is so respected in music that, you know, he said the right thing with the right camera on. You got, next thing you know, you got a bidding war going on.
That could have been a game changer and a life changer, but
been, you know,
still a great experience. But from that context, absolutely.
Definitely, you know, right around that time, you know, me and Short, Too Short, who we were already, you know, label mates, and my first experience in Oakland was with Short. You know, he picking me up and us riding, going to, you know, the community center and stuff like that, which at the time was way before I had my Love Life Foundation, but just like, I'm like, man, this is Too Short, you know what I mean? And all that he, you know, the fables he's created, and you know, the legend that he is, you know, lyrically, and to be able to kind of like ride through and see, you know, and see, quote unquote, you know, their hood, but you know, him just see how adamant he was about his community, and you know, and going by and building with the kids and the youth and all of that. Like, just certain things, man, that, like, you know, had I not listened to that conversation and walked out of there in my own arrogance, you know, you know, my second album would have sounded a lot different. I wouldn't have had, you know, some of these relationships that I cultivated to this day, where I can, you know, reach out to these cats and work and stuff of that nature, or we see each other and it's like, yo, it's all love.
Like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Just based off of a conversation. So, you know, I too now utilize those tools as someone who is, you know, striving to be a dope A&R, and, you know, doing the business with the label that I, you know, with SRG and ILS, and, you know, helping expand their business, just understanding the whole gamut of how things work, you know? A
lot of different moving pieces to that puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the experience with Dre must be an all-timer for you.
Yeah.
Who are some other people you've bumped into along the way that you're like, wow, this is a pinch me moment, this is pretty dope?
I mean, it's just moments, man, that you look back on, you know, that you cherish, you know what I mean? I'd probably say, you know, the relationship that I cultivated with Stevie Wonder, you know what I mean? Or that, like, you know, there wouldn't be probably a Love and War Masterpiece double CD album, which came out in 2010, if it wasn't based on a conversation I had with Stevie Wonder.
Wow.
I was in Miami at the time. He had called me out the blue. Gerald Bugsby had just passed. Myself, Stevie, and Gerald were, I believe Gerald was a tourist as well. And he was just kind of like missing his friend that day. And for whatever reason, I came to mind and thought, you know, as a historian.
It's funny how that works, right?
Yeah. I don't know what you know, as a historian, you know, protege, I guess. You know?
Yeah, totally.
Man, he just reached out, and we ended up having we ended up being on the phone for like a long time, man. It was like about an hour we spoke, you know, and you know, based on that conversation, you know, I was very adamant about putting out the double CD, and after that point, nobody could talk me out of doing it. Like,
yeah,
you know,
you were dead set. Nobody was changing your mind.
Whether it was going to affect my publishing and the cap on that, or, you know, just too much money, or, you know, or a record like Bulletproof wasn't, you know, where some people felt like. I once read an article where they said that, like, at the height of my career, I kind of like threw it away, quote unquote, to keep it real, to put out a record like a conscious record like a Bulletproof. You know what I mean? And so I thought that was interesting.
That is really interesting.
But you know, case in point is that, you know, again, you know, that conversation, it aesthetically it sparked ideas, and you know, again, I was thankful for that. I mean, the first time I ever met Jill Scott, I can kind of remember that and see that, kind of envision that. You know, I was just waiting for her to say Raheem, right? Like, you know, it's just like, you know, the whole interlude thing, whatever. But it was crazy, man. We were at Jazzy Jeff's studio, and it was just like, wow.
Yeah,
I was doing cartwheels inside.
I bet, man.
You know, I was playing it cool.
And then later you're like, oh my gosh, you know I can't believe that happened.
Yeah, but yeah, man, like just so many people. You know, I've said it countless times to artists that I work with, and I just say, man, it's a pretty cool experience. I say, you know, some people that you admire your whole life, you know, unfortunately some of them will let you down.
Sure.
You know,
it's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. I'm sure you can.
Oh, absolutely.
Relate to that,
and you're just like,
mean?
That's such a bummer,
yeah,
but it's a part of life. You know.
You know, but on the flip side, some of these people will become your, you know, your friends, you know, your family, pretty much. You know, and people that you can confide in, and you know, and create great music and build a level of trust and just all these things, and do business or not do business, but seek great advice or what have you. So it's, you know, I'm thankful for everybody that I've met and relationships and opportunities I've had along the way, you know.
Yeah, no question.
You know, probably next to time, relationships are the most valuable thing on the planet.
Definitely, I agree with that one. So let's talk about the new music. What were you going for with that, and what was it like putting this whole thing together?
Yeah, the Love Reunion, man. It was. I had a lot of fun putting this album together. You know, I constantly challenged myself to step out of my comfort zone. You know, making records like Kissed by the Sun or Magnet, which have that Caribbean island, you know, Afrobeat feel to them. It was kind of like the cherry on the top for the project for me. After a recent trip I took to Ghana about a year ago, you know, I kind of said, hey man, like I wanna be in the club, I wanna be in the mix show a little more. You know, I consider myself a balladeer at heart. You know, I'm just a sucker for a slow song and a red light special. You know what I mean? But
I absolutely do. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. You know, creatively, I do have those up tempos in me, and you know, it's great to see that that has sparked a whole another thing for me. You know what I mean? So I do have a project that's pretty much upbeat. You know, that has a Caribbean feel, Afrobeat. You know, singing a character kind of go along with it. You know, I'm still developing it.
I like it. Yeah.
And,
see a little different side of you
yeah,
there.
you could definitely. At some point, the world will be able to be entertained by, you know, Reggae Rod, you know, Dance Hall DeVaughn, as I call that.
Oh, Dance Hall DeVaughn.
As I call that character, Reggae Rod, Dance Hall DeVaughn. You know?
It rolls off the tongue nicely there.
Yeah. As you can see, I've been thinking it out.
Oh, you've
right?
definitely been thinking. Something's cooking up there. What's the biggest misconception about you as an artist?
Probably that I sit down and physically write songs. That I don't that I love trap music.
It's funny how these narratives get formed, right? And you're just like, really? I'm sure you dig it, but
I mean, I do love it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think the conception would probably be that I don't. Maybe I need to say it like that.
Sure.
But, you know what I mean? I'm probably the only guy in history that has a record with Boney James. Follow me on this. And then, you know, was on the last 2 UGK albums.
Mm. Yeah, that's showing some range right there.
You got Boney James.
Yeah.
And then you got UGK. You know what I mean? And I fit, I think I fit well in either scenario. You know what I mean? I love music. You know, even to I guess like down to like the company I keep for it. You know what I mean? It's just like very diverse, man. I can, you know, if we're in a setting, you know, depending on where we are, you know, whether it's from my crew from the humble beginnings, or you know, my industry friends, or you know, educators or humanitarians, like. You know, I fit well. You know, I'm 10 toes down wherever, man. It's all good, and being a people person, you know, helps.
Yeah, it's key.
Yeah, you know, humility and being humble is the most important, you know, thing. Another asset that I think has definitely allowed me to be successful, but also be the guy that you never see coming.
I like that. Yeah. Good deal. Raheem, good to meet you, man.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Check out his new music. You won't be disappointed. For Raheem, I'm DJ. See you next time here on The Sit Down.